Glenn, have you been messing about with any of these AI tools since we're talking about digital tools?
Yes, I mean, I certainly sort of mess about with the art tools. I've taken a look at Chat GPT, and I've had a lot of conversations with people who are using Chat GPT. It is GPT, not GTP. It is
GPT,
it
yeah.
is GPT. I've had a lot of conversations with people who are using Chat GPT in various ways for developing their games and testing out ideas and putting things together. I think it's a curious area, and I think it has different strengths and weaknesses, and obviously it has sort of ethical issues for various reasons. But personally, I think like
I mean, I'm super interested and intrigued with the artwork one first and foremost because it's a craft that I don't have. It's the most expensive part of any project. Like, if it were possible to make certain scales of projects or certain proportions of the artwork in a much more cost-effective way, like obviously that would be really good for me. But it's interesting how much it is more like playing a church organ than I anticipated. Like, you press some buttons and you get some really predictably naff stuff, and sometimes you get a random hit, but like predictably getting good stuff that looks unique, that sort of feels on brief. I don't know, like it needs more work from me to be able to get there.
I mean,
And I should say I've used a few, but Midjourney's the one I've been getting the best hit rate out of.
yeah, I think different ones have slightly different tendencies. So Wombo is very, very quick, and it is kind of nice for very sort of dreamy, non-specific images, for a little bit of sort of concept art.
Via Dixits.
Sorry?
Via Dixits.
Yes, very much. In fact, there's a whole game built on GameFound just recently where it's basically a Dixity kind of a game, and all of the images are from Wombo.
Right.
Midjourney, I find you can sort of you can get more sort of sophisticated results from. You have to hammer away at it for a little while, and there is an art in learning the prompts, I think, definitely for that. And then I've tried out some of the others, and they have strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, I come back to Midjourney. I think it's funny because it's like, I'm not an artist. I am a writer. I have a very visceral reaction to Chat GPT that I don't inherently have to Midjourney. My position on Midjourney at the moment is, for like concept art and placeholder art, if I start designing a game, it's nice to have some images that I can stick into the document that are totally free to sort of help inspire and remind myself of what the world is. And usually what I would just do is just pull some copyrighted artwork off of the net and slam it in. And it's fun to go into Midjourney. It's only for me. And I think part of my self-justification is that sometimes I'm going to then give that to a professional artist who I am paying, and it's going to make his life easier and quicker because I can't draw, and what they generally get is this sort of do that but good, and instead be able to give them a Midjourney thing where it's like, okay, like I spent like 5 hours having this thing vomit awfulness at me, and I found this one image that is kind of what I like. That makey good, please. I think that's worthwhile. I feel itchy about using Midjourney for like any kind of final product, and I think honestly the community don't like you doing it, so I wouldn't. I think on a purely cold-hearted business level, it's probably not a great idea at the moment. On a less cold-hearted level, I'm not comfy with it, for anything other than me or occasional free stuff. Like if I'm going to chuck something up free as like a have this if you like to play it, then I don't feel too terrible about sticking a bit of AI art into it, just to pretty it up.
Yeah.
Chat GPT, I think, is an interesting one. So I've had a lot of conversations with people. I've seen people go, like pop up on one or another forum going, I asked Chat GPT to write me a game. This is what it gave me. Isn't this incredible that it can do this? And then I've read the game, and it's funny that when like Midjourney or something like that throws out one of the nightmare fuel images, everyone just instantly goes, oh my god, how could anything make that mistake? It's got like 14 jaws and etc etc. When Chat GPT does it, people are like, oh well, this is fine, this looks fine, this is perfectly okay. And then you read and you're just like, what are you talking about? That rule doesn't go anywhere. That rule refers to 15 different things that don't exist. And it's like somebody posted a thing up like, here's a game Chat GPT made, and there were lots and lots of words. A lot of them didn't attach to any of the other words. And when you read it through and actually analyzed it, what the game was drawing some cards and then putting them cards down again, and everyone scoring 5 points. That was literally what happened through the whole game. And that person was like, this is a game. This is it has made a game. It's like, it hasn't made a game. It just hasn't.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because some people, for me, what's weird is that I get people going, okay, look, I went to Chat GPT and I said, give me some inspiration for, okay, there's a scenario and it's in space and it involves some pirates, and there's got to be like a base that's defensible or whatever. And then Chat GPT throws out like a set of elements, and then you've got to do the donkey work of making those elements work.
Right, but it's got you through the writer's block. It's thrown out, because like one thing it appears to be quite good at is fictional stuff. Like if it doesn't have to check its references, if it's just making up a story, it's pretty good at making up stories.
Yeah, but the thing, I don't know, maybe it's just me. That's the fun bit as far as I'm concerned. What it seems to me is a lot of people have gone, hey, there's this amazing machine. What it does is it eats your dinner, tells you how it tasted, and then you get the stomachache and crap it out. And why? Okay, you could do that. Why would I choose to have that happen? It's like writing the story bits is the most fun. It's like every time I've seen one of these Chat GPT games, it's like, it just did the fun bit. It just did the brainstorming part. It just did the sitting around mucking about and throwing out ideas bit. And now you've got to do the grind of running this bullshit through, running the numbers on it and doing the playtesting. In what world have you signed up to that? This is where the machines have won, where they've got us doing the crappy bits of their development as they sit on the hot. Make me a game about living mushrooms riding around on unicorns.
Well, I asked Chat GPT to write me some rules for a naval war game, and it gave me a 7 bullet point list of things, each which basically summarized bits of the rules that I would have to write.
Exactly. That's what it does, and that's the main reason I don't think it's yet useful, because it's doing the easy fun bit and then leaving you to suck lemons as you. One thing that's funny is somebody popped up in the Discord who asked ChatGPT to list some tabletop miniature skirmish games that have push your luck elements in them, and it listed a bunch of games, none of which actually had push your luck elements in them, none of which had push your luck elements in the bits where ChatGPT said they did, and one of which was Gaslands, funnily enough. And it claimed that the Gaslands collision system was a push your luck system, which absolutely fundamentally isn't on any level. And that's the thing about, at the moment, when you ask ChatGPT for factual questions, it's sort of like an overconfident teenager with a faulty smartphone. It'll just make stuff up. It doesn't care.
But just be totally confident about it.
Yeah, and absolutely 100%. Because one of the main periods I spent with ChatGPT was asking it what the point of ChatGPT was, and what's funny is it ended up feeling like a conversation with a politician, where it's like, well, it can offer you ChatGPT could give you information. And I say, will it fact check the information? No, it will not fact check the information, so it could be completely false. Yes, we don't suggest using it as the final source. Well, why don't I just use the final external source that you would suggest that I do use? Well, ChatGPT could direct you to that. Google can direct me to that. Why don't I just use Google? It also won't make things up. Yeah, but ChatGPT is lovely for it. It's like,
Google will make things up though, or at least the things on the end of Google.
yes, but at least it will be directing you to a thing that exists rather than just out and out going, Google, is there a website about fish? Yeah, sure, there's loads of websites about fish. Just over there. You go look. It'll be good. Great fish. And you go over there and it's a box of shoes. I think at the moment, ChatGPT, I feel fairly secure in my job, in a way that I think artists should feel secure as well, because at the moment, and I think for a long time, what ChatGPT is doing, a good artist is about like the art direction, the feel, and the atmosphere, and the sense of a game. Things that that Midjourney is really nowhere on, and I think is going to be nowhere on for a considerable period of time. And certainly, if you want to have the same character doing different things, you're in a hellscape with Midjourney, whereas with a human, it's significantly easier and more achievable. I think
one of the people that I know who is genuinely worried about the march of AI artwork is a friend of mine who's a composer and a music editor for movies and TV, and like the job of cutting sound to sync and generating like lots of music that sort of fits into that. He's genuinely like existentially worried about that, and is sort of planning to make sure that his career ends before that machine rises up to essentially eat that part of the industry. And if I was someone who was writing marketing copy for a living, obviously like that is pretty much gone, daddy gone. And so I guess the question, and it's purely a philosophical question, it's not really like my income does not depend on writing tabletop games right now. So like whether or not this job gets eaten by technology is only of a curiosity to me right now. But I do wonder whether there's something about a certain kind of like intrinsically human inspiring thing. And I don't know whether tabletop games are one of these, but like there's music that serves quite a functional purpose in a movie or a TV show, and then there's music that you listen to for pure experiential purposes, and at some point potentially those things will cross over. But like creating fun as a game seems to me something that is going to take a little while here for the machines to figure out, and they'll probably make it fun for them, not for us.
I think one of the main things I think about it is like, there are these people who are very surprised when a computer learned to play Go and defeated a Go grandmaster. And there were same people that were very surprised about the fact that the computer finally managed to beat a chess grandmaster. I was not the least bit surprised by any of those things happening. They felt those things were 100% inevitable once the first computer won a game of tic-tac-toe, because we find humans who can do chess are impressive. Computers, it's what computers can do. I'm not impressed by a computer that can beat a Go grandmaster. I'll be impressed when a computer can win a game of Pictionary or Dixit or Mysterium or something of that nature. A game that is about some kind of human element. And I think there's an interesting thing in relation to like Chat GPT and Midjourney, where like with Midjourney, I've got to filter all the gumph that Midjourney fires at me.
Right.
And I think the thing with Chat GPT is if it writes you a game, if it can get to a point where the game is literally functional, which is a long way off, I think, at the moment. But if it gets to that point, you're then going to have to find out whether the game is fun or not. And then going back to Chat GPT or whatever it's,
asking it to fix the problem,
explaining to it why the game wasn't fun, and asking it to fix the problem and to make the game fun and to make it feel a certain way to players. It just feels like it's one of these things where it's going to be like, more to it, who wants this? It's not like game designers are expensive to hire. It's not like it isn't a buyer's industry, game design. Who wants AI that can design a game? Who desires it to exist in the world?
The my industry is low value argument. It's a good one.
I mean, but it's also but it's a combination of the fact that it's low value and it's really hard to get the AI to do it. It just feels like it's a sort of ice skating uphill in order to get paid like a penny when you get to the top of the mountain. It's like, why would anybody choose to do that combination of things? It's like there's a million better things you could be doing with it. People design games because they like designing games. Why would they want a computer to do it for them? So I think it's a long way off before like the games design industry is like crushed by AI.
I think I haven't perhaps done any research on what video game commentators are saying about this. I wonder if there's a similar feeling for video games, or if like there's a huge chunk of like, well, digital creation of environments would be lightning fast. Like if I want to create an oil rig environment for my shooting game, then that would be great for an AI to build.
I
But I
mean,
imagine it probably has the same problem. So it's like, well, this is annoying to run around, and it doesn't function as a level. It's not enjoyable to navigate. It doesn't have the right choke points and tactical interest. And
I think a lot of what AI like is going to do in these industries is clear out a lot of the chaff. It's the nature of the AI is that it learns from a mass of like other versions of this thing, and so it's better and better at recreating the generic version of a given thing. And I don't really want the generic version of a given thing to exist anyway. And so if the AI comes in and just murders the career of everybody,
right, just devalues that sort of work.
I'm not that worried about that as an option. It's like, I go, you're talking about video games, I go through Steam and it gives you your discovery queue, and I've got I think 17,000 ignored games on my discovery queue. I looked at the other day, and
wow, you really love pressing that button.
I kind of do. It's a little daily.
Every click of this is an exquisite judgment. I judge you. I judge you.
It's a morning coffee ritual to just go to the discovery queue and go, well, why would anyone like any of this? It's all terrible. Yeah, I've ignored like 17,000. There's like 90,000 still to go on Steam. And I'm betting if I ever get to the end of that, a high percentage of that is going to be ignored stuff. And some of it's not to my taste, but a hell of a lot of it is just garbage, just garbage, And frankly, if the AI steps in and goes, all right, the stuff that was kind of being made by hacks anyway, I'm a hack. The AI is a hack basically, and I don't know, maybe it's not the end of the world that's a career that gets taken away from human beings.
The other thing, back to the top of the topic, like the other thing that's potentially usable for is if you are not a very good fiction writer and you're making a game and you want flavor text. I haven't really experimented a lot with that, but that's one of the things that I was messing about with it the other day on. And potentially it could be like, write me a 200 words of a castle battle in the style of old Martin. I can't remember his initials suddenly. T. Martin.
the bastard son of Tolkien and Martin. I mean, what I do think it's quite nice for as a gamer is if you are a DM, like in an RPG, and you want a character to have a little script when he pops up, and it's like,
right.
What does Balthar the tavern owner say when the adventurers walk in? I think it's quite good at that level of thing already at the moment. I mean, I don't know. Again, I feel like the thing, like struggling with a bit of narrative text is is nice. It's nice to struggle and something you're not great at but is creative. I repeatedly question the motivation, the person who doesn't want to engage with a creative struggle when they are doing something creative. It kind of baffles me, the mindset of the person who goes, well, I want to make a game or write a book or wherever it happens to be, but I'd like something to take away all of the creative bits of that, and just leave me with the grind. That's what I'm looking for here. And what's super, super, super bizarre to me is the first thing we developed to deal with either of those two parts of the process, we chose to develop the thing that takes away the creative bit first. How is there not a Chat GPT where I can tell it the brainstorming part and it just craps out all the stats for me? I can tell it what my deck builder is, and then it tells me the distribution of like all of the cards and what's on all of the cards. That's what I want. I want to be able to go, here's a big idea. I've got a lot of big ideas and not enough time to do the grind. I do not need an AI coming in and giving me like second rate, genericized big ideas and then telling me to grind that bullshit out. That's the and I don't know. I mean, to me, I cannot conceive of who wants to operate that particular machine to that particular end. I don't understand it. I understand the curiosity thing of it. It's like, it's like having a dog that can walk on its hind legs. It's amusing and interesting, but it doesn't serve an actual purpose. I'm not going to do anything with it afterwards. I'll do it once, I'll look at it, I'll go, yeah, that's weird. I wasn't expecting that to be able to do that. And that's as far as I intend to interact with it. But I don't know.
Yes, well, I guess this is probably a to be continued. Like, we'll probably end up talking about this in another 6 months when the machines have advanced further. It's obviously super interesting and intriguing, but it isn't clear to me yet what the problem I have that this thing solves is yet, for all the reasons that you've just outlined. It is much more clear for art, but as you say, not an artist. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And possibly that's the answer, is that people who aren't writers are like, well, they feel the way I feel about art, about what I do, and they're just like, I wish I could create, write something creatively, but I cannot, and I can't like acquire that skill. So it's great that this machine can come along and do it. I don't know. I have to find people who are really excited to use Chat GPT to take away all of their creative thoughts and will, and ask them why they want that in their life.
Right. Well, on that apocalyptic note, we should probably slink off.
Yes, yeah.
Does this one count as an after dark?
I think I might pop it up as an in betweens conversation.